So, Kyle, we're starting off a brand new year. We came off a fantastic year for us in 2024, 2025 looking ahead. I want to talk about some of the three main lessons you learned from 2024 and where you think 2025 is going. I want to hear some of your predictions.
Cool. Well, this is going to be fun. I do not have a list prep, so I'm just going to shoot from the hip. But that's kind of what we do on this podcast. If you guys don't know this, we don't ever do any prep. Brian preps questions to ask me. I actually prefer to just take questions on the fly because I feel like I just give more authentic answers, and it's just more fun. It's more conversational that way. So that's how we roll here. Welcome to the Whissel Way podcast. My name is Kyle Whissel, your host with eXp Realty in San Diego.
And I'm Bryan Koci.
The goal of the show is to give you the tools, techniques, and tactics to go out there and crush it in your business. The way that we like to do that is to answer the questions that you have for us. So if you ever have a question, you want to have us answer it on the show, you can always go to thewhisselway.com. You can ask us questions on there, subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel, join our referral network for all the people leaving California. I think I gave out like 5 of them in the last week. And also, if you want to get dialed in with leveling up your content creation in 2025, we'll teach you everything we've learned over the last 10 years of working together: audio, video, social, the whole deal. All of that at thewhisselway.com. All right, let's jump in.
So I'm excited for this because I added that at the last minute too.
Yeah, you threw a little curveball in there.
Let's see. I thought it would be fun. So looking back at 2024, we grew significantly in agent count. We grew significantly.
We actually didn't grow significantly in agent count. It feels like it. We actually netted 7 agents in 2024.
Okay, but how much did we net volume-wise?
We increased volume by over 40%.
Okay, so I want to talk in the first part of this podcast. What would you attribute that 40% growth of revenue? Volume is different. I understand.
Well, revenue and volume tend to go hand in hand.
They're similar. It's not. Anyways, yes. We're good. I didn't want someone watching this and go, "Oh, that's not revenue." It's because I would do that. What are the 3 main things you would attribute our growth without having a massive influx of agents?
Yeah, so I would say the net agent count from December of 2023 to December of 2024 was 7 agents. Now, some people might be watching this like 7. That's a lot of growth. We have 110 agents. So 7 agents is less than 10% growth, right? It's in the grand scheme of things, it's actually on a percentage basis, a very, very small growth. But the reality of that is, I would say we average, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head of the gross number, but we grossed probably somewhere around 70, 75 agents, if I had to guess. So that means we brought in an average of like 6 agents a month to the team, but we cut an average of like 5 agents a month from the team. So the number one thing that helped us grow in 2024 was enforcing our expectations, right? And I've heard this quote before: expectations without enforcement are simply suggestions. Expectations without enforcement are simply suggestions. And so what a lot of people do is they have these things they say where it's like, oh, well, if you want to be on my team, you have to do this. But then if somebody doesn't do this, they still keep them. They start to be like, well, shut up. Like, they either did it or they didn't. And so one of the things we did a little over a year ago is we decided, like, we were doing the same thing. Let's come up with a number that if somebody does not hit it, they will get terminated. And for us, we determined that it's 2 numbers. 1, they need to do 2 deals in the first 6 months that they're a part of the team. And then they need to do 6 deals every 12 months thereafter. That's our number that we will actually terminate somebody for. So before, we used to say like, oh, well, we want agents doing a deal a month. Okay, well, what if they do 10 deals a year? Are you going to fire them? No. They do 10 deals a month. That's a pretty good agent. I'll take 100 agents that do 10 deals a month all day long. That's great, right? That's 1,000 transactions. I'd take that all day long. The reality is that's not a reality. So for us, we determined 2 deals in the first 6 months, 6 deals every 12 months thereafter. That's our expectation. If you don't hit that, you'll get put on probation. You get a chance to work your way out. And if you don't, you get fired. I believe we fired 3 people just in this week. I think I saw 3 of them come through, maybe 4 of them come through. So you have to be willing to enforce those expectations. And what was funny too is I also met with an agent who recently got put on probation. And this person was like, man, I don't want to get fired. I want to be on this team. And what do I have to do? And, you know, I find there's two types of people when they get put on probation. There's the type that curl up in a ball and cry and don't know what to do, and they get paralyzed. And those are the ones that get eaten up. And then there's the ones like this. This guy's like, I'm not getting fired. I'm not going to lose this opportunity. And he came out swinging. And I met with him 2 weeks ago. He's penned 2 deals in 2 weeks. Right?
Not on probation anymore.
Not on probation anymore. Got his ass off probation. So it's important though, right? He was actually scared. Why? Because he knew we'd actually fire him, right? If you're not actually firing people, nobody's ever scared. You could put him on probation. They're like, whatever, he's not going to do anything to me. This guy knew that if he didn't do what was required with his probation, he was going to get fired. He stepped it up. 2 deals, right? In 2 weeks. So that's the thing, is you've got to be willing to cut people. So you have to set expectations, and then you have to actually follow through and enforce those expectations. I would tell you right now, hands down, that's the number one thing that led to our growth in 2024, is not allowing people to just be here that are not hitting expectations.
And that's hard.
It's
because your human side gets into it, and you go, well, I love this person. Right? Like it's hard to do. And I know you can empathize. And I see where you're at now, but I want to bring you back to where you were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where it's like, right now it's easy to say, cut them. We have a good system for bringing people on, but it's hard, right? Like we can understand and appreciate that.
I can definitely understand what you're saying, but it gets a lot easier when you put that expectation out there at the first interview. You put it out there when they sign their agreement. You put it out there when they go through boot camp, and then you put it out there when they're not hitting the mark. And then when you put somebody on the probation, half the time they just leave because they know, like, I'm cooked, right? I don't have it. This isn't for me. And then if you do put somebody on probation and they don't hit the mark, it's not a hard conversation. It's actually rarely a hard conversation because they knew from the first interview what the expectation was. So it's no mystery, right? They know they didn't do what was expected of them, and we only have one choice, which is to enforce that expectation. So the conversations aren't as tough as you would think because they know it's coming. And I don't know what the percentage is, but a lot of them, they end up leaving before because it's kind of like, you can't fire me, I quit kind of thing. It's like, whatever, man. If that helps you sleep better at night, then sleep better at night. But you know why you're doing this. So that's fine too. We have no problem with that.
All right. So number one is enforce your expectations. Number two,
in order to do that, you have to have a consistent stream of people that are interested in being a part of your team. If you aren't consistently recruiting, you cannot do number one, which the main reason people don't do number one is they don't have a bench. They don't have a consistent stream of recruits coming in. So therefore they hold on to people because they're like, well, I can't cut them. I don't have anybody to replace them. And my volume's going to go down. So you have to constantly be recruiting. For us, what works the best to recruit is a few things. One is me as a team leader. I have to be very public. I have no choice, right? I have to be public. I choose to do things like this podcast that you're watching right now. Believe it or not, this podcast is the most mentioned thing when we interview people to join our team and we ask them, why did you choose Whissel? They mention the podcast and or YouTube channel. That is the number one most mentioned thing when I sit down and talk to agents after they've joined our team. Because I don't do any of the interviews. I just grab lunch with them, the whole group every month. And I would venture to guess that's mentioned at least 50% of the time. It's the most mentioned thing of anything that we do is they've watched this podcast, watched our YouTube channel, listened to podcasts, whatever. So that's a huge one. That's a really big source is just going out. But it's not just because we have a podcast and not just because we have a YouTube channel. It's because we're providing more value in this podcast and on our YouTube channel than their current broker or current team leader is providing to them. And so people say, man, if he's going to give me this much information publicly, what kind of information am I going to get when I actually join his team, right? Now I get the private stuff as well. So having a really value-driven podcast and YouTube channel, that's number one for us. Number two is we're with eXp Realty, right? The beauty of being with this brokerage is that my agents, my 110 agents are all incentivized to attract other agents onto our team. So they're constantly keeping their ear to the rail, listening for other people that might be interested in making a move, or their friends that are getting their license. And they're like, right, Cody's brought like 3 or 4 people in the last couple months, and they all watched what he did, and they're like, hey, Cody, what's going on over there? And Cody's like, oh, come on over. So the beauty of this revenue share model that EXP came up with and others have copied is that the model incentivizes my agents to attract agents to the team. And they also, not only are they going to attract agents, but they want those agents to succeed. So they actually tend to help out a little bit more with the agents they attract, because the more successful those agents are, the more revenue they bring in, and that revenue gets shared with them. So being at EXP is huge, because my agents are recruiting for us, and outside agents are recruiting to our team. So we have people all around the country that know if they talk to somebody that's in San Diego or in Riverside County that's looking to join a team, that Whissel's hiring. And so we get a lot of outside of the area EXP agents that are sending recruits our way. So I would say those are the 2 biggest ways that we get agents coming into our world.
Really, it's not just an ad, and you put a $10 ad up and you
the cost for ads is crazy. You know, my friends, when we're running ads right now too, time will tell what it ends up costing us per agent. But most of the people I'm talking to, they're at like $1,000 an agent when running ads, so using some of the different services that are out there. So that's really expensive. Whereas these, the ones that are coming in, the beauty too is like Cody, for example, who's brought, I think, 4 agents in. Like Cody's willing to put his name on these people that they're a good fit for the team, right? Or, other people outside of the team that send agents over, like they're putting their name on that person. Nobody wants to put their name on somebody if they don't believe in that person, because it's going to reflect, negatively on them that they referred somebody over to the team that was a bad fit. So you're getting quality people as well.
Before we get into our 2025 predictions, I want you, the number 3, the third thing that has helped us, I don't know, increase 40% in revenue year over year for the last 2 years?
Yeah. We stopped adding new shit. One of the biggest things we did in 2024 was stopped adding new shit. Stopped going to every conference, to every event, to everything. The reality is most of us don't need to go to a new event to get new ideas, because we haven't implemented the old ideas we got at the last freaking event. Why are we going to another event to get more new ideas? Like, that's so stupid. I was in that trap. I was in that world where I was literally going like 2 to 3 events a month. If I'm going to 2 to 3 events, when the hell am I ever going to implement anything that I'm getting from these events? So I went to significantly less events in 2024, which meant I had significantly less noise, because if you go to most of these events, these coaching events and whatnot, like they're all, oh, you need this service, this app, this widget, this AI, like, dude, you don't need any of that shit. All you need to do is talk to more people. Like, that's the message I gave my team in our huddle this morning, is the agents who have the most relationships are going to sell the most homes. It's that simple. And none of those things are going to replace having genuine relationships. So that's the focus with our team this year, is just building relationships. We don't need all this, anything new, anything fancy. We just need to focus on building as many relationships as we can with our clients, with our referral partners, with our vendors, and all of the likes. That's ultimately what's going to help us sell the most homes in 2025.
All right, good segue into 2025. Looking ahead, I want you to look nationally, as our audience is, excuse me, our audience is national.
Take your time, Brian. We got all day.
No, we don't. We're 15 minutes in. I want you to give some predictions of where you think the market's going, where you think real estate's going. I mean, last year we talked a lot about this NAR settlement. It seemed to have died down quite a bit. Go ahead and predict the next big thing.
I feel great about how we handled the NAR thing, to be honest with you. We didn't talk about it at all with our team. We intentionally shielded our team from the whole NAR settlement thing.
From the noise?
Yeah, because again, it was just noise. Again, some of these, I mean, there's some coaches out there that have been like, how are you prepping for it? Are you ready for like 2-3 years before this change actually happened? Like, do you know how much damage that did to people's teams, to their mindsets? Like, we didn't talk about it at all. I just told my agents, look, if and when this thing is like finalized and goes into effect, we'll change on a dime. and it'll go back to business as usual. So until then, just stay focused, go build relationships, and just go help as many people as you can. And that's what our team did. We didn't use it as a distraction. It wasn't something we spent countless hours role playing in advance of it, because it changed multiple freaking times, right? Dozens of times. It's probably still going to change, right? California made a change that took effect the first of the year. Like, it's always changing. And for us, we've just shielded our agents from a lot of that noise. Just go sell homes. And when things do change, like there's these TCPA rules are going to change when it comes to like how you can make phone calls. The amount of people are like stressing out every day about how they're going to adapt to this change. It's crazy. Like, there's the really good people, they can just change on a dime. The change is actually something that could be beneficial, but don't stress over this stuff. Like, just keep your head down and just keep working. The best agents I know, we got two amazing ones here in San Diego, Greg Phillips and Melissa Tucci. Like, I don't even think they go on social media, right? Like, they don't bother with that stuff, because all that does is just plants all these thoughts and ideas in your brain. You're seeing these Inman articles pop up and these Riz Media articles and Housing Wire and like all those things that are just meant to like distract you, where those two, both those guys sell 100 plus homes a year, solo agents with a small little, team around them, support team. And they sell 100 plus homes a year because they just keep their head down and work. The agents who do that are the most successful. So, I mean, that's a big thing for us in 25 is just head down, block out the noise. Block out all the new tech, block out all the new this, the new that, block out the news, the media. Just focus on your people. Just focus on building those amazing relationships and going deep with people and understanding who they are to the core and what motivates them, and look for those little opportunities to win with them. Like, that's what's going to help you sell more homes in 2025, not some AI, not some app, not this, that.
Okay. Now tell us about some 2025 shit that people should pay attention to.
So in 2025, like, that should be, I hope that your theme can be similar to what our theme was last year's. No new shit. You don't need new shit. I would encourage you to go to less conferences, because I know you guys are all watching this hoping I'm going to tell you about the new app, the new widget. Like, I'm not, because there is nothing. Do less. Do less of that stuff, because when you do go to the events, you do go to the conferences, and you're gone for 2, 3, 4, 5+ days, like, that could be really, really disruptive to your business. And it could be really disruptive. Brian and I both have kids. Like, when you're gone from your family for multiple days, like, that's disruptive to your family too. So what I would challenge you to do is like, look back at all the events you went to in 2024 and analyze, like, was this really valuable, or did I just go and the value was like, I got to see my friends that I haven't seen in a while. Look, if you want to hang out with your friends, then go hang out with your fucking friends. You don't need to go to a real estate conference to hang out with your friends. Go to the Bahamas with your friends. Go to Hawaii, right? Go skiing up in Whistler. Like, go hang out with your friends if you want to hang out with your friends, but you don't need to go to a real estate conference to hang out with your friends.
I like how you said all these bougie places. I'm like, go to Bakersfield, hit up Barstow.
You don't need all these events. So I would challenge you to think like, hey, am I really going to this event because I'm going to get value out of being there? Or am I going there just to hang out with friends? That is where I see a lot of people making the mistake too. So less new stuff like that should be your theme. And I guess I'm taking what we're doing internally and just telling you the same thing I'm telling my team is less new stuff, more relationships.
So 2024 was hard for a lot of people. Again, I know what we did was an anomaly, and I don't want to take that for granted. Do you see anomaly?
I don't like that. And the exception to the norm, because most people did not see growth in their business. Anomaly would mean like, it's like unexplained how it happened. It's easy to explain. Quality people, cut the bottom off, top grade. That's not an anomaly.
Okay, sure. Whatever. What do you think do you think 2025 is going to be easier for the vast majority than 2024?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the studies, there's 3 things that are expected to happen in 2025. There's going to be less agents, there's going to be more homes sold, and the average price of homes is going to increase. So even if you just did the same thing you did in 2024 with those 3 factors, 2025 is going to be a much better year for you. But the agents who actually put the work in and focused on building relationships, those are the agents who are going to get a disproportionate share of that growth. Those are the agents who are still going to be in business. They're not going to be the ones that got out of the business. They're going to be the ones that are in the business and start to gobble up market share. The one thing I want to share this too, because I shared this with the team today, is think about this, guys. The first transaction that you do with a client will always be the least profitable transaction that you do with them, right? Whether you generated the lead yourself, your team generated the lead, maybe there was a third-party referral partner that generated the lead. Now you got to pay the referral partner a referral fee, and you got to pay a split with your team leader and your broker, and then you get what's left over. Like, that first transaction is the least profitable one. But when that client comes back around because you built a good relationship with them and they want to work with you again, when they come back around, that's your most profitable transaction, because your cost, your CAC, which is, it's referred to in a lot of other business, your customer acquisition cost, you already paid it on that first one, right? There's very little cost for that client to come back to you if you built a good relationship with them. Additionally, the referrals that they give you from their friends, their family members, their colleagues, all of that, like, those are the most profitable transactions that you do in your business. So just remember that your first transaction with a client is always going to be your least profitable transaction. Every subsequent client and every subsequent transaction with that client and every referral from them, those are going to be your most profitable transactions. Let that be your theme in 2025. That's where you should focus.
I want to dive in a little bit to the three things you talked about: less agents, more homes sold, increase in home sale or price.
Yes.
Less agents. Do you expect there to be less new agents joining the industry, and or do you expect more agents to leave the industry?
I think it's a combination of the two that will lead to that. I think there's agents that are just aging out, right? I mean, that's just an inevitable thing that happens in this industry. And then when you throw in changes like the whole NAR settlement, like, that definitely wiped out some agents from the industry. And then there's the ones that got wiped out immediately because they just didn't want to have to completely, or in their eyes, fundamentally change the way they do business, when in reality it was just one new piece of paper that you had to get signed. But to some people, they just checked out immediately, right? The really weak ones checked out day one. Then you have the next tier, which they're still around, but they're doing business and they're making a fraction of what they were making before the settlement because they don't value themselves. So they're not willing to sign these agreements at what they're worth. They're signing these things at a fraction of what they're worth. They think they have to, right? They think, well, I'm not as big as this agent or that agent, and so I got to charge less money. So those ones, they will take a little longer to get out of the industry, but they'll get out of the industry as well. So I think you had like your bottom of the barrel agents who just couldn't handle change at all. Then you have the ones who are taking the change, but aren't doing it where they're valuing themselves, and they're just bleeding out a little bit more slowly, and those agents will get out of the business as well. And then you have less agents getting into it because there's been more of this negative stuff out there in the press, so it's a little bit less attractive. Plus all the reports are number of homes sold is down and it's harder and all that, so that doesn't get people excited to get into this industry. So I think it's a combination of the two that's going to lead to less agents overall.
And then quickly here, you think there's going to be more homes sold?
Yes, I absolutely believe there will be more homes sold. I think, one, with Trump taking over the White House, there's just significantly more optimism about the future of the economy. So a lot of the people who've been paralyzed in their existing home, they're more optimistic about, when I sell, yes, I might be leaving my low rate to get a higher rate, but I believe values are going to go up. So I'm more willing to take that chance because of my belief in the direction of the economy. And I do believe that you're going to see the rates start to come down as inflation continues to get more and more in check. For anybody who doesn't think that inflation is a real thing, like, look at all these companies that are going out of business, right? Party City going out of business, and Big Lots, and a lot of these others. Like, I don't think we're still in a heavy inflationary market when you see these companies that are going out of business. Those are more indicative of deflationary economies. So as inflation comes down, rates come down, which will also shrink the gap between people that are selling and buying, and selling at a low rate and buying at a higher rate. That gap will shrink, which will also cause more people to make moves in 2025.
Okay. And that makes sense all with the increase in price as well, because now there's going to be more competition and prices go up.
Yep.
Cool. That's all I need.
You feel good about it?
I do.
I know. I'm sorry if you guys are watching this. You were like hoping I'm going to give you some like amazing new thing that's just going to revolutionize everything.
Well, I will on the widget. It's going to be revolutionary.
Yeah, guys, it's make 2025 the year of no new things. Just do better with the things that you already have. You guys don't need anything new to be successful. You just need new habits, right? Those habits need to be focused on building relationships. The agents with the most relationships in 2025 are the agents who are going to win. Those are relationships with new clients, with past clients, with referral partners, with vendors, right? All of those things. Whoever has the most relationships is going to win.
Cool.
All right, cool. Well, hopefully you guys got value out of the show today. If you did, if you're watching on a podcast platform, if you're listening, make sure to give us a review on there and subscribe to the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button. Let YouTube know you enjoyed the episode. If you have questions, throw them in the comments section. Brian and I respond to all of those. And if you want more of our content, hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell. With that said, one of the things we like to do before we wrap the show is what we call our Whissel Widget of the Week, something we utilize in our business. It saves us time, makes us more money, or just helps us have a little bit more fun.
So for mine, I've never been a fan of screen protectors. And this comes back from, I used to work at Best Buy when smartphones came out. And the screen protectors were garbage. Literally, it was like putting your phone in a plastic bag, and you wouldn't pick up your fingerprints. It was just horrible. So I've always hated them. Then the week one of getting my new phone, I scratched the middle of the screen, and it was $500 to replace it. So I didn't do that. And so I've always been anti-screen protectors, but I said, you know what? I'll give it a shot. I like to give credit where credit is due. I like to buy things from creators that I like to watch a lot. When I see a good ad, especially if I screenshot it or send it to someone and say, this is a good ad, I want to buy from them if I need to. And so I've seen this guy on TikTok for a year now. They call it the Magic John screen protector. He's like, look how easy it is to put on. And he's cutting cucumbers with it. I'm like, this is dumb, but I watch the video all the time, even though I hate screen protectors. So when it was time, I bought the screen protector. I followed the instructions, literally put it on, pull this thing. It was really easy. And it's a great screen protector. I think it was 2 for $20 or $25. And I was like, this is phenomenal. Which, if you would have told me I would have said that 3 weeks ago, I'd be like, you are wrong. That guy's he's a good talker. But no, I love the screen protector.
Cool. Mine is one that I used on New Year's Eve, and we were going out to dinner downtown San Diego. There happened to be a giant music festival, sold out music festival at Petco Park. So you have everybody coming down there for all the New Year's Eve parties. You have the stadium with a sold out event, right? There's a lot of traffic. And we used an app to help us find parking in advance. So obviously in your local region, I don't know what parking companies you have. We have a company here called Ace Parking. Ace Parking has an app. So I was able to go on the map, find the closest parking lot to the restaurant that we were going to, and prepay for my parking. And on New Year's Eve, 1 block from the stadium, we paid $16 for parking. $16, where other lots were charging upwards of $100 parking for that same night. In addition, when we got to the lot, it said lot full, prepaid parking only. So if you didn't pay in advance, you could not park there. So not only did we get parking exactly where we wanted at only $16, if we didn't prepay, we wouldn't have been able to park there, and we would have been stuck in a $100 lot. So something that I never thought about, but our friends recommended it, and I downloaded the app and saved a ton of freaking money and parked where we wanted to, as opposed to where we got stuck with. So look in your local area. Here in San Diego, Ace Parking is a big deal. I think they're nationwide, but find whatever companies own all the parking lots in your area, see if they have an app, and you could prepay for parking. And it was really cool. And we just rolled up, scanned our QR code, and poof, done. It was fantastic. So
easy.
There's my widget of the week. With that said, guys, I hope you got a ton of value out of the show today. If you want to stay connected with Brian and I, follow us on Instagram at Bryan Koci, at Kyle Whissel. We keep it very simple. Love to stay connected on there. Follow along with our lives, our journeys. With that said, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Whissel Way podcast. We'll see you next week.